I was actually quite a sick baby, and I was diagnosed with a liver disease, and it's one that can actually kill you. And so as a result, my liver was actually failing me, and if I didn't have a transplant, the doctors told my parents that I was more than likely to die. After being on the waiting list for about a year, I had my transplant when I was 2 years old. When you have a transplant, you get a very big scar, and I have one massive one right across my stomach. I wouldn't get changed in the changing rooms with the other boys just because I felt very self-conscious about how I looked physically. I was a very quiet person when I was in school, and I loved other things like reading books and playing PlayStation, stuff like that. I remember feeling so low about who I was as a person, not liking the way I looked, not being appreciative of the things that I had. I always tried to find value in other things besides God, and as a result, I just wasn't happy with my life. I was in my last year of high school, and I just knew something was wrong, between my parents. I knew their relationship just wasn't the same. They weren't as close as they used to be. And I didn't understand why until one day I came home from school one afternoon, and I remember my parents told me to sit down with all my other siblings there, and they pretty much told us that, they were getting separated. This really took a toll on me. I started having major complications with my health again. The liver that I had been given when I was a baby, that liver had actually failed as well and was beginning to fail. So what they were implying pretty much and saying to me and my family was that I needed a second transplant. And so they knew that I was going to need one within the next year to be able to, survive and get through life. When I received the news, I remember going directly to God, and I was like, God, why are you doing this to me? And I just couldn't see a way forward. The recovery process of my transplant, it was a success. It took 12 hours, but then within that, after I got sent home and discharged, I actually ended up back in hospital 2 weeks later because of an infection that had happened inside my body, and so I needed another surgery to kind of fix the infection. My parents, they actually had been spending a lot of time together because of what I was going through that whole year. I was very, health-wise, I was down mentally, I was down emotionally, I was down, and I just got to a point where I just couldn't see a way forward. And so my parents, they kind of came together, and they kind of just kept encouraging me to keep moving forward and to push through all the difficulties and challenges I was going through. And actually, as a result of me going through my stuff, I think God kind of used that to bring them back together, and they kind of, reconciled their relationship. I think about the third time that I got admitted into hospital. I remember one particular night where I was, just so depressed and so down. I remember my mum, before she left for the night, she said to me, look, all you have to do, son, is just acknowledge that God is there and that, He's there for you. I just, put on some music, some worship music, and I remember just saying to God, Lord, God, I don't understand what's happening, but I trust you. And in that moment of prayer and worship and surrender, I remember that God just changed my outlook on my situation. It went from, being sad and angry to one of praise and appreciation, not for the fact that I was getting new life, but for the fact that I could trust in a God that was with me throughout everything. No matter what I was feeling or physically what I was facing, I knew that God was in it.